Hello, I'm Dave and this is Fiver, out once again for a walk in the New Forest. Thanks for joining us. So today we're going to be doing another one of our New Forest river walks. We're basically going to be trying to follow the entire course of the Latchmore Brook. And it's a stream that runs from the northern end of the forest across the southwest to join the River Avon. And when it reaches place called Ogdens, it actually changes its name to the Huckles Brook. So the walk's going to be very much a linear one, probably about 7 miles, but it might be a bit shorter. It really depends what the weather does. I think it's going to be quite a warm day. I'm filming about 8:30. It's the end of the summer. Nice breeze at the moment. We certainly should be able to get the whole of the Latchmore Brook section done anyway. Okay, we need to kick on. Where's the best place to start? Well, the best place to start with these river walks is normally the source. Now, the problem with the Latchmore Brook, there are 3 to choose from. There's a sort of fork with sort of 3 prongs. I'm going to choose the middle one. I'm basically based not too far from Bramshaw Telegraph, very close to the Roger Penny Way. So the most westerly source is probably just behind me, quite close to the Forestry England car park, which is where I've been dropped off. So I'm going to start at the middle sort of prong, and then there is an eastern one, just 300 or 400 yards over to the east. Right, we need to kick on, find the source. Well, folks, you're going to have to take my word for this, but this is the source of the sort of middle top tributary of the Latchmore Brook, just a few yards south of the road that's just behind that bracken there. And we are quite high up. The highest point in the New Forest is Piper's Weight, which is about a mile away from here. And there's the channel. Hopefully you can see the sun's quite low, so we've got some odd shadows at the moment. And of course, this time of the year it's bone dry, but you can see the route of the stream as it heads south through that heather. Well, the first section of our walk is very much downhill, heading southwards. Now, spoiler alert, it might be quite a while before we actually come across any water. We've had one of the driest summers on record. But on the other hand, it will mean that we should be able to follow the course without getting too muddy and avoiding bogs. Now, regular viewers will probably notice that Fiver has got a slightly unusual harness on. It's quite a warm day today, so he's got his lightweight canicross harness on. He's fine with ponies and cattle, but there are a lot of deer around, so pretty much most of the walk he's going to be on a flexi lead. Now this little sort of valley near the start is called Clay Pit's Bottom, and as the name suggests, there's lots of clay here. Indeed, it can get very muddy in the winter. Indeed, it's an area where you can find fossils apparently, small remains of fish and snail shells, as well as other micro fossils. Well, a New Forest walk wouldn't be a New Forest walk without some New Forest ponies. And this lot here happily grazing away. Glorious shiny coats in the sunshine. And this one over on the left having a lie in, and why not? So I'm not going to get too close to them, leave them be. You see the one in the middle there, it's got its reflective collar on, just to protect it at night when it's crossing the road. It's only held on by Velcro, so they do come off quite easily. You can see the course of the stream, not quite so well defined down here at the bottom of quite a wide valley. I suspect that'll change soon. Oh, it's a beautiful time of year to be out on the forest. The heather, of course, out in all its glory. Although having said that, the colours haven't quite been so vibrant this year. Whether that's due to lack of rain, I don't know. Although we can't complain because we had a tremendous display of yellow gorse in the spring. Well, the next part of the walk is actually going to take us through some woodland, and things might become a bit challenging now. I don't know how close to the actual course of the stream I can get, but we'll give it a go. We should get some shade at least. Just before we go into the woods, you can really see how deep the channel is already this high up in the course. It's one of the fastest eroding channels in the New Forest, partly due to the steep gradient as well as the very direct route. Now, I don't know if you can see because it's in the shadow here, but just at the bottom where there is in fact some water, which surprises me, but there are some, looks like posts sticking up, and that's where they tried to restore it in the past by, well, they add heather bales to sort of try and make the stream wider, to try and slow the flow of the water, to reduce the erosion. So this wood that we're just about to go into is the Islands Thorns Inclosure, and at 201 hectares it's one of the largest enclosures in the New Forest. It was planted up in 1852 with oaks that well, interestingly, they appear to have been planted fairly close to each other, which has meant sort of slightly unusually tall oak trees. And just in front of me here you can see the bank, that's the enclosure bank. When they created the enclosure, they would have made this bank and a ditch, and there would have been a wooden palisade on top, just to keep out livestock in the early years of the development of the enclosure. And then after about 30 years, when the trees were big enough and old enough to look after themselves, they would take the palisades down and the livestock could go back in and graze. Well, just look how deep the sides of the bank of the Latchmore Brook is here. You can imagine in the depths of winter this can become a raging torrent, can't you? Oh, it is so peaceful in here. All I can hear are my footsteps. I love the way the sun sort of just streams through the foliage from above. And with the Latchmore Brook on my left, very much in its dormant period. On our first footbridge of the walk, going over the Latchmore Brook, It's always useful to have these dotted around because you can tick them off on the map as you go along. You know, I tell you, I just cannot get over how deep this is here. It gives you a feeling of a fair bit of destructive force, doesn't it? The way those tree trunks have been washed down there. Old Fiver's loving this walk. Just keeping account of the number of squirrels, keeping them in order. We're just looking at the far side of the bank there. It really does show the soil structure here. It's quite fragile. Really, it's only got a few inches of topsoil over a sort of thin layer of gravel, and then you get this heavy clay. Bridge number 2. A slightly more substantial one than the first one we saw. And it means we're still going in the right direction. Now, as the gradient's not quite so steep here, you can see how the Latchmore Brook now starts to meander a little bit more. You get the feeling that although the banks are still fairly deep here, the flow of water, when there is water there, might just be slowing down here. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I think this may well be where the western tributary joins up with the sort of middle tributary of the Latchmore Brook. You can see it's coming in from the west, so that will eventually make its way up to is it Studley Wood or Studley Wood? I'm never sure how you pronounce it, but it's not as substantial as the middle tributary, that's for sure. Well, our first sight of a reasonable amount of water. Okay, it's a pool, but there are some flies on top. That's about the only bit of wildlife I can see that's using it. Oh, quite a deep pool here. Just goes to show that even on really dry summers, there's always somewhere for the ponies to find water. You can smell something. Now, just a little observation here. If you look at the floor of the brook, the stones, they're quite light coloured, very pale. I'll just point that out. Hold that thought for later on in the walk. Bridge number 3. And this one's a stone bridge. They are becoming more substantial as we go downstream, aren't they? I like this. I love the little arch. It's quite cute. Well, so far it's been fairly straightforward going in terms of following the banks of the Latchmore Brook. There have been sort of animal tracks alongside. Obviously it helps with there being no mud. It's amazing, you know. I started the walk, I don't know, 9 o'clock, 7:30, something like that. Been going for about 2 hours now. It's Bank Holiday Monday and I have not seen a soul. I've had it to myself. It really has been quite wonderful. Now, I could be wrong, but this might be the eastern tributary where it joins up with the main tributary of the Latchmore Brook. And the eastern tributary starts at the top of Howan Bottom near Roger Penny Way, and then about halfway down, of course, you've got Iworth Ponds, where the stream was dammed up in the 1860s to provide a water supply for the Schultz gunpowder factory there. Of course, the factory closed in the 1920s. It's a lovely pond. Of course, Logan and I visited it when we did a walk round there a couple of years ago. If you've not seen that video, do check it out. Bridge number 4. And this is where a forestry track. In fact, one of the authorised cycle tracks goes over the Latchmore Brook. Now, I remember a little bit earlier on the walk I mentioned the colour of the stones on the bed of the brook. Notice now how they're no longer pale, but they're almost a reddish brown colour. And part of the reason for that is there's an iron content in the water now. If you go back to the sort of eastern tributary, part of that is fed by a spring, Irons Well, I think it's called, real deep red rusty colour. And so as a result, a different colour to the bed for the rest of the walk. Well, we're now in a different enclosure, the Amberwood Inclosure, which is about 86 hectares in size, and that was established in 1815 with oak and some Scots pine, although a fair chunk of the Scots pine were cut down in 1918. Although it's the end of August, some of the bracken's beginning to turn that golden brown already. We're almost getting some autumnal colours very early on in the season, that's for sure. Starting to see some fairly decent stretches of water now. Beautiful reflections, the sun glinting off the top there. Well, it's been a fairly good route so far. It's becoming a bit of an obstacle course now. We've got an under and an over and an under. Well, I'll just let Fiver show how to go over. Go on, good boy, over you go. He says, I bet it's easier under. Nope. No, I'm not going to film me going over. It won't be a pretty sight. Well, our first blockage of the route. You can see there's some wire fencing across it. Indeed, all along there's a little bit of the enclosure, so I guess it's there for a reason. We'll do the right thing and not carry on. What we will do is we can pick up a track that runs parallel with the brook just on the southern side, and then we should be able to pick up the brook just a little bit further on. Well, it looks as though there is a gate that takes us back towards the brook. Indeed, I can see a bridge there. Is that bridge number 5? So we can carry on as we were. Another really dry section of the brook here. You get these long sections, not quite so deep, but fairly wide. Oh, we certainly need some rain, that's for sure. Bridge number 7, and possibly the biggest of them all. Look at those boulders and rocks down there. I wonder if those have been put down there deliberately as part of a system to slow the water flow. I don't know. So we're now in the Alderhill Inclosure, which is about 38 hectares, and that was established in 1864 with oak and Scots pine, and then some more Scots pine was planted in the 1950s. But there's been a fair bit of tree felling here over the last few years or so. Well, I've just done a tiny little detour to the south of the brook to show you this. Regular viewers will know what this is. Of course, it's a pony pound. A fair few of these dotted around the forest, used well, primarily for the annual pony drift, although it is used at other times of the year as well. And the ponies would be rounded up or corralled into the sort of pen here. You can see that's where they're rounded up through this gap between the trees, and then you've got some rustic fencing here, and then the ponies can be held here, and that's where they can be checked over, get branded, have their reflective collars put on, and youngsters taken off, and any that are going to be sold, etc., etc. And this is a sort of it's a sort of average sized one. You get some small ones and large ones. There's about 30 permanent ones on the forest, maybe more. Well, this is where the Latchmore Brook comes out of the Alderhill Inclosure, and the nature of the route changes dramatically now, very much in an open area, and goes through the Latchmore Shade. A good spot to take a drink. He's beginning to warm up now. You're enjoying that, aren't you, fella? I love this part of the forest. So that's looking over to the south of the Huckles Enclosure in the distance. So the brook's on my right hand side. A fair bit of heather, and I say the bracken, mixture of the greens and the browns now. Oh, how about that for a view, folks? That's looking north with Hampton Ridge on the horizon there. One of my favourite spots in the forest here. And this is about as much water as we're going to see all day. Very popular area with livestock around here. A good opportunity to dip your toes, cool them down. A bit of fresh water. Just what the doctor ordered, I think, on a day like today. You're not going to get much deeper than that today, though. Well, we're right on the edge of the old New Forest boundary here. In fact, if you look on an 1872 map, there was a boundary stone around about here, but I've never been able to find one. But this is where we say goodbye to the Latchmore Brook, because shortly after here it changes its name to the Huckles Brook. Well, folks, I think I'm going to foreshorten the walk now. It's very hot and I've got to look after Fiver. This is where the Latchmore Brook ends, so we can say we've done the entire course of the brook. So the Huckles Brook continues on westwards. It joins the River Avon, and there are about 6 spaces or spots that you can sort of go over footpaths and a bridge, but most of it goes through private land, and a lot of the walk will be on the road. So we're going to head northwards towards the Forester's pub. Well, I think we'll have some light refreshment. Oh, what a welcome sight. The Forester's Arms at Frogham. Now, I have conducted a fair bit of research in here over the years, but still no reason why I can't quickly pop in and check the quality of the ale, seeing as I'm in the area. Well folks, here we are in the beer garden of the Foresters in Frogham, and I'm delighted to say I've been joined by my old pal Logan, who's come to collect us. Well, we've had a super walk today. The weather has been quite glorious, and we managed to see pretty much the entire course of the Latchmore Brook, albeit it was quite dry. If you want to see it with water, come back in the winter. We hope you enjoyed the walk today. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Dave's Countryside Walks. So until we meet again, thanks for watching and cheerio. Right, now Logie, time for Piper's Crisp time, your favourite. Yeah, well, you don't like crisp, but you've got a little bonio, and Daddy has got a pint of Horizon. Cheers.